The Deathworld alliance was failing, until Earth's last Dreadnought rose. The emergency lights of Vargas Prime's Grand Council chamber cast long red shadows across worried faces. Commander Elijah Hayes stood near the back wall, watching the Alliance representatives argue. These were supposed to be the toughest beings in the galaxy. They came from planets that would kill most life forms in minutes. Yet now they looked scared. "We lost 3 more systems yesterday," said the Vargan High Marshal, his scaled skin reflecting the dim light. "The shipyards at Cantor Belt are gone." The room erupted in shouts and accusations. Hayes rubbed his temples. Earth had joined the Deathworld alliance out of necessity, not choice. Humans were newcomers to space when the Nexus Dominion began their expansion. The Dominion saw other species as resources to use, not equals to respect. They were physically weak, but had technology far beyond anyone else. Only the hardiest species from the most dangerous planets could resist them. "The Dominion's new ships are cutting through our defenses like they're not even there," said the representative from Dractus. A massive being with rock-like skin, Hayes knew the numbers. 5 years of war, 43 systems lost, billions dead or enslaved. The alliance was failing, and everyone in this room knew it. His comm unit buzzed. Lieutenant Catherine Walsh's face appeared on the small screen. Her eyes looked hollow, her face dirty and bruised. "Commander," she said, her voice rough. "We made it back, barely." Hayes stepped out of the chamber. "What happened, Lieutenant?" "Ambush at Sector 7, New Dominion Tech. They knew exactly where we'd be." She swallowed hard. "My squadron is gone, sir. All of them. I'm the only one who made it out." Hayes felt cold. Catherine Walsh was one of the best pilots in the Alliance. If her squadron was wiped out that easily, things were worse than he thought. "Get to headquarters. I need that report in person." "Yes, sir. There's something else. This weapon they used, it doesn't just attack our ships. It somehow shuts down our defense grids completely." Hayes ended the call and leaned against the wall. Earth was already a quarantined wasteland after the Battle of Sol 3 decades ago. If the Dominion had technology that could bypass Alliance defenses completely, the remaining human colonies wouldn't stand a chance. When he returned to the council chamber, the arguments had gotten worse. The Gorvan delegate was threatening to pull his forces back to protect their home systems. Others were talking about surrender terms. "Surrender isn't an option," Hayes said loudly, stepping forward. "You all know what the Dominion does to conquered worlds. And what would Earth know about holding the line?" sneered the Gorvan. "Your world fell in the first year of fighting." Hayes controlled his anger. "Which is exactly why we know the cost of failure." A young officer hurried into the room, looking around frantically until he spotted Hayes. He rushed over. Ignoring the important delegates, he pushed past. "Commander Hayes, sir," the officer said breathlessly. "Deep space telemetry picked up something. Something big." "This better be important, son," Hayes said, aware that the room had gone quiet. "It's an energy signature, sir, from the dead zone between the Carillion and Pharaoh systems." The young man handed Hayes a data pad with shaking hands. "Our computers say it's a match for the EDS Indomitable." Hayes stared at the pad. The energy pattern was unmistakable. The unique radiation signature of Earth's most advanced warship, the last Dreadnought. "That's impossible," Hayes whispered. "The Indomitable was destroyed at the Battle of Sol, along with the rest of Earth's fleet. The signature is degraded but consistent, sir. And there's more." The officer's voice dropped lower. "Dominion salvage ships have been found destroyed in the area. The automated defense systems appear to be active." The council room had gone completely silent. Everyone knew about Earth's dreadnoughts. They were the only ships that had ever gone toe-to-toe with Dominion cruisers and won. The Indomitable was the largest and most advanced of them all. Its destruction had been the final blow that led to Earth's fall. "If that ship is intact," the Vargan High Marshal said slowly, "then we have a chance," Hayes finished. He turned to face the council. "I need a ship and a team now." 6 hours later, Hayes stood in the briefing room of the Alliance cruiser Dauntless. Lieutenant Walsh had arrived, still in her torn flight suit. She looked exhausted but determined. Next to her stood Dr. Alan Russell, one of the few remaining engineers who had worked on Earth's Dreadnought program. "The EDS Indomitable was the pride of Earth's fleet," Hayes explained, bringing up the ship's schematics on the display. "Length 2 kilometers. Crew complement 3,000. Main armament, graviton lance arrays and mass driver batteries. But what made it special was its neural interface system and adaptive shield technology the Dominion has never been able to copy. And you're saying this ship still exists? Dr. Russell asked, studying the schematics with intense focus. After all this time? We don't know for sure, Hayes admitted. But the energy signature is a match, and something out there is destroying Dominion salvage ships. Even if it exists, Walsh said, the ship would be damaged without a crew, possibly without life support. What can we really hope to accomplish? Hayes looked at each of them. Lieutenant, you've seen what the Dominion's new weapons can do. Doctor, you know what the Indomitable was capable of. If there's even a chance we can recover this ship, or its technology, we have to try. The journey to the coordinates took 3 days. 3 days during which news arrived of 2 more Alliance systems falling to the Dominion advance. The mood on the Dauntless grew darker with each report. When they finally dropped out of hyperspace, the sight before them silenced everyone on the bridge. There it was. The EDS Indomitable, a massive dark shape against the stars. Its hull was scarred with battle damage, but the unmistakable profile of Earth's most powerful warship was intact. Around it floated the wreckage of at least a dozen Dominion vessels, evidence of foolish attempts to claim the prize. Life signs? Hayes asked. None detected, the sensor officer replied. Minimal power readings. The main reactor appears to be in standby mode. How is that possible after 30 years? Dr. Russell wondered. Hayes stared at the ship through the view screen. The Indomitable had been reported destroyed with all hands during the final defense of Earth. Yet here it was, seemingly preserved like a ghost ship from old human legends. Prepare a boarding team, Hayes ordered. Dr. Russell, Lieutenant Walsh, you're with me. Let's find out what happened to the Indomitable, and if there's anything left that can help us win this war. As the shuttle approached the massive Dreadnought, Hayes felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Something dangerous in times like these. Hope. The Alliance was failing, but perhaps humanity's last and greatest warship could turn the tide. The Deathworld Alliance was failing, until Earth's last Dreadnought rose. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud against the hull of the Indomitable. Commander Hayes led the boarding team, with Lieutenant Walsh and Dr. Russell close behind. They wore full environmental suits since they had no idea what conditions would be like inside the massive ship. 4 Alliance soldiers followed them, weapons ready. The airlock cycled slowly, ancient machinery groaning to life after decades of disuse. When the inner door finally opened, they were greeted by darkness and cold. Their helmet lights cut through the gloom, revealing a corridor that stretched into the depths of the ship. Gravity systems are still functioning, Walsh noted as she stepped inside. That shouldn't be possible after all this time. Dr. Russell ran a scanner along the walls. The power core must still be active, just in standby mode. These ships were designed to last, but this is beyond anything we expected. Hayes moved forward carefully. The air was breathable but thin and very cold. Frost covered many of the surfaces. As they moved deeper into the ship, they began to see the remains of the crew. Bodies floated in sections where gravity had failed, preserved by the vacuum and cold. Others sat at their stations looking almost as if they might still be alive. What happened here? Walsh whispered, her voice tight. Hayes checked a nearby terminal. Let's find out. The terminal flickered to life at his touch, surprising everyone. A voice spoke from hidden speakers, the sound distorted and broken. Identity confirmed. Human biological signature detected. Welcome aboard the EDS Indomitable. The AI is still active, Dr. Russell said with awe. Artemis, identify yourself. The voice became slightly clearer. I am Artemis, Advanced Tactical Emergency Management and Intelligence System. My systems are operating at 23% capacity. Full access requires command authorization. Hayes stepped forward. Artemis, I am Commander Elijah Hayes of Earth's Diplomatic Corps. Can you tell us what happened to this ship? Information restricted. Command authorization required. Walsh moved to another terminal. We need to find the bridge or the captain's quarters. There might be logs or access codes there. They made their way through the massive ship, passing through engine rooms bigger than entire Alliance vessels. Dr. Russell stopped frequently to examine the technology, growing more excited with each discovery. The Graviton Lance assembly is intact, he said, studying a massive weapon system. And look at this shielding technology. The Dominion has nothing like this. They found more bodies as they moved toward the command deck. The crew had clearly fought to the end. Blast marks and bullet holes scarred the walls. They found dead Dominion soldiers too, evidence that the ship had been boarded during its final battle. The bridge was a large, circular room at the heart of the ship. The main view screen was cracked but still functional, showing a view of space outside. The captain's chair sat empty in the center. "Look for any records," Hayes ordered. "We need to know if this ship can still fight." Walsh found the captain's personal logs in a small room off the main bridge. The final entry played on a small screen, showing a woman with short gray hair and a bloody gash across her forehead. "This is Captain Caroline Bennett of the EDS Indomitable," the recording began. "Earth has fallen. Our defense grid is destroyed. Dominion forces have overwhelmed our last positions. The fleet is gone." Hayes and Walsh watched in silence as Captain Bennett continued. "I will not allow this ship to fall into enemy hands. The Indomitable carries too many of Earth's secrets. I have initiated the Dimensional Slip Protocol. It's experimental and untested, but it's our only option. The ship will phase partially out of normal spacetime. If anyone finds this recording, know that we fought to the end. Earth may have fallen, but humanity must survive." The recording ended. Hayes looked at Walsh. "Dimensional slip technology? I've never heard of it." "It was theoretical," Dr. Russell said from the doorway. "A way to hide ships by sliding them slightly out of phase with normal space. But it was never successfully tested before Earth fell." "Apparently it worked," Walsh said. "But something must have brought the ship back recently." Dr. Russell nodded. "The Dominion's new weapons, maybe. They're messing with spatial dimensions to bypass our shields. That could have disrupted the field, keeping the Indomitable out of phase." Hayes turned back to the bridge. "Artemis, this is Commander Hayes. Access code Alpha 7 Delta Echo 9. The standard Earth military override code was ancient, but worth a try." The lights on the bridge brightened slightly. "Code accepted. Limited command functions available. Warning. Critical systems damage detected. Full restoration requires command-level clearance." "That's progress," Hayes said. "Artemis, can you give us a status report on the ship's main systems?" The AI's voice was stronger now. "Main reactor at 6% capacity. Life support functioning in primary sections only. Weapon systems offline. Shield generators offline. Propulsion systems offline. Hull integrity at 71%. Can these systems be restored?" Walsh asked. "Affirmative. Repair protocols exist. However, full functionality requires complete restart of core systems and command authorization from captain or designated officer." Dr. Russell had moved to an engineering station. "I think I can bring the main reactor online, but it will take time. The technology is advanced, but based on principles I understand." A sudden alarm blared through the bridge. Walsh rushed to a sensor station. "We've got company. Dominion ships just dropped out of hyperspace. A lot of them." Hayes looked at the view screen as it switched to show the approaching fleet. At least 20 Dominion warships were moving toward their position. "They must have been tracking us," Hayes said. "Or they detected the power spike when we started accessing systems." "We need to get this ship operational," Walsh said urgently. "The Dauntless doesn't stand a chance against that fleet." Hayes opened a channel to their ship. "Dauntless, this is Hayes. You need to get out of here now." Hyperspace jumped to the rally point. "We'll try to follow if we can." "Commander," the captain of the Dauntless responded, "we can't leave you behind." "That's an order, Captain. The Alliance needs to know what we found. Go now." They watched as the Dauntless turned and vanished into hyperspace. "Narrowly avoiding the first Dominion ships, Doctor," Hayes said, turning to Russell. "How quickly can you get the engines online?" "Hours at best," Russell replied. "But the weapons might be faster. The point defense systems appear to be in better shape." "Then that's our priority," Hayes decided. "Artemis, can you give Dr. Russell access to the defense systems?" "Affirmative. Defense protocols accessible to engineering personnel." As Russell worked, Hayes and Walsh tried to bring more of the ship's systems online. The Dominion fleet had surrounded the Indomitable, but they weren't firing. They were sending boarding craft instead. "They want the ship intact," Walsh said, watching the small vessels approach. "That gives us some time." Hayes nodded. "Not much. Lieutenant, take our security team and secure the main access points. We need to hold them off until we can get this ship moving." "Yes, sir," Walsh said, checking her weapon. "What about you?" Hayes looked around the bridge of humanity's greatest warship. "I'll stay here and see if I can convince Artemis to give us full access. There has to be a way." As Walsh left with the security team, Hayes turned to the captain's chair. Something about it caught his attention. There was a small scanner built into the armrest, designed for palm recognition. "Artemis," he asked, "would my handprint work to give command access?" "Negative. Only Captain Bennett or her designated successor can grant full access." Hayes frowned. Where was Captain Bennett's body? They hadn't found her among the crew. An idea struck him. "Artemis, where is Captain Bennett?" The AI hesitated before answering. "Captain Bennett is in Medical Bay 3. Access to that area is restricted." Hayes felt a surge of hope. If Artemis was protecting the medical bay, there might be something important there, or someone. In the distance, he heard the sound of weapons fire. The Dominion boarding parties had arrived. They were running out of time. The Deathworld Alliance was failing until Earth's last Dreadnought. Rose Hayes moved quickly through the dark corridors of the Indomitable, following the directions Artemis provided to Medical Bay 3. The sounds of fighting grew louder behind him. Lieutenant Walsh and the security team were engaging the Dominion boarding parties, but they couldn't hold them off forever. The Medical Bay doors were sealed shut. A red light above them indicated lockdown status. "Artemis, open these doors," Hayes ordered. Unable to comply without proper authorization, the AI responded. Hayes pressed his hand against the door. "Artemis, people are dying to protect this ship. If there's something in there that can help us, I need to know now." The AI was silent for a moment. Then surprisingly, the red light turned green. The door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the medical bay was dark except for a single stasis pod glowing with soft blue light. Hayes approached it slowly. The pod's surface was frosted over, but he could make out a human form inside. He wiped away the frost with his sleeve and stepped back in shock. Captain Caroline Bennett lay inside, her face peaceful in suspended animation. The pod's displays showed she was alive but in critical condition. "Artemis, explain this," Hayes demanded. Captain Bennett sustained life-threatening injuries during the Battle of Sol. Before initiating the dimensional slip, she entered stasis. Her final order was to protect this ship until Earth forces could recover it. Hayes stared at the sleeping captain. "Can she be revived?" "Revival is possible but not recommended. Captain Bennett's injuries are severe." Hayes made a quick decision. "Do it anyway. We need her command authorization. Warning, revival process may result in Captain Bennett's death. We're all going to die if we don't get this ship moving," Hayes said firmly. "Begin revival." The stasis pod hummed to life. Fluids drained and medical systems activated. Hayes contacted Dr. Russell over the comm. "Doctor, I need you in Medical Bay 3 immediately, and bring a medical kit." "I'm a bit busy right now," Russell replied, the sound of equipment and alarms in the background. "I've almost got the main reactor online. Trust me." "This is more important," Hayes insisted. While waiting for Russell, Hayes checked in with Walsh. "Lieutenant, status report." "Not good." "Sir?" Walsh responded, her voice tight. The sound of weapons fire punctuated her words. "We've sealed off 3 main access points, but they're cutting through. 10 minutes, maybe less, before they break through. Hold them as long as you can. I may have found a solution." Dr. Russell arrived, out of breath. When he saw the stasis pod, he froze. "Is that Captain Bennett?" Hayes confirmed. "Artemis is reviving her now." The pod's cover slid open with a hiss of escaping gases. Captain Bennett remained motionless, her skin pale. A nasty scar ran across her forehead, and medical readouts showed significant internal injuries. Russell quickly examined her. "She's alive, but barely. These injuries..." He shook his head. Bennett's eyes suddenly fluttered open. They were unfocused at first, then sharpened with awareness. She tried to speak, but could only manage a weak cough. "Captain Bennett," Hayes said, leaning closer. "I'm Commander Elijah Hayes of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Your ship has been in dimensional slip for 30 years. Earth has fallen, but the Alliance still fights. We need your help." Bennett's eyes widened. She tried to sit up but couldn't. 30 years, she whispered. "Yes, Captain. And right now, Dominion forces are boarding your ship. We need command access to Artemis to activate the defense systems." Bennett nodded weakly. "Help me up." Hayes and Russell carefully helped Bennett to a sitting position. She was frail. Her muscles wasted from decades in stasis despite the pod's anti-atrophy systems. "Artemis," Bennett said, her voice stronger now. "Command override Bennett 072. Transfer command authority to..." She looked at Hayes questioningly. "Commander Elijah Hayes," he supplied. Transfer command authority to Commander Elijah Hayes. Authorization full. The lights throughout the medical bay brightened. Artemis spoke, her voice now crisp and clear. Command transfer accepted. All systems now available, Commander Hayes. Hayes turned to Russell. Get back to engineering and bring that reactor online. I need engines and weapons. Yes, sir, Russell said, hurrying out. Bennett gripped Hayes' arm. The internal defense systems, she said urgently. Activate them. Internal defense systems? Hayes repeated. Security Protocol Phoenix, Bennett explained. It will deploy combat drones throughout the ship. Hayes nodded. Artemis, initiate Security Protocol Phoenix. Protocol Phoenix initiated. Deploying internal defense units. Hayes helped Bennett to a wheelchair they found in the medical bay. I need to get you to the bridge. No, Bennett said firmly. Take me to engineering. I can help Dr. Russell with the reactor. Hayes wanted to argue but knew time was critical. He wheeled Bennett through the corridors, taking side passages to avoid the fighting. They passed several sealed rooms where mechanical sounds could be heard, the combat drones activating after decades of dormancy. They reached engineering to find Russell working frantically at the main console. The massive room was dominated by the reactor core, a towering cylinder of dark metal with faint blue light pulsing within it. The startup sequence is initiated, Russell reported, but there's a security lockout I can't bypass. I can, Bennett said. Hayes wheeled her to the console. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced efficiency despite her weakness. The reactor needs a specific activation sequence only the captain knows. The blue light in the core grew brighter. Machinery hummed to life around them. Main reactor now at 30% capacity and rising, Artemis announced. Restoring power to essential systems. Hayes' comm unit crackled. Commander, Walsh's voice came through, tight with tension. We can't hold them much longer. They've broken through in Section 5. Help is coming, Lieutenant, Hayes replied. Artemis, status on the internal defense units? Defense units deployed and engaging hostile forces in Sections 3, 5, and 7. What are these defense units exactly? Hayes asked Bennett. A small smile appeared on the captain's pale face. Something the Dominion has never encountered before. Combat drones with adaptive AI. They learn from each engagement. On the engineering displays, they could see the ship's internal sensors. Small blue dots moved through the corridors, the defense drones. Red dots representing Dominion forces were being pushed back. Commander? Walsh's voice came through again, this time with a note of surprise. Something's helping us, metal things. They're attacking the Dominion troops. Those are ours, Lieutenant, Hayes confirmed. Fall back to defensible positions and let them do their work. The reactor's glow intensified. Reactor at 60% capacity, Artemis reported. Weapon systems coming online. What about the engines? Hayes asked. Main engines require full reactor power, Bennett explained. But we have maneuvering thrusters. Hayes made a decision. Artemis, divert power to weapons and thrusters. Target the nearest Dominion vessel with point defense systems. Targeting, Artemis confirmed. Point defense batteries charging. Bennett looked up at Hayes. You need to be on the bridge. The neural interface there will give you better control. Hayes hesitated. What about you? I'll stay with Dr. Russell and manage the reactor. Now go. This is your ship now, Commander. Hayes nodded and left at a run. The corridors were better lit now. Emergency lighting replaced by standard illumination as systems came back online. He passed several combat drones, sleek metallic forms moving with eerie precision, seeking out intruders. He reached the bridge to find it secured by two of the drones. Inside, displays were lighting up as Artemis brought systems online. Hayes sat in the captain's chair, feeling strange taking Bennett's place. Artemis, give me ship status. Reactor at 75% capacity. Weapons at 60%, shields at 40%, thrusters ready, main engines at 20% and rising. Point defense batteries ready to fire. The main view screen showed the Dominion fleet surrounding them. One of their boarding craft was attached to the hull near the main airlock. Target that boarding vessel and fire. The Indomitable shuddered slightly as the point defense batteries fired. On the screen, the Dominion craft exploded in a flash of light. The rest of the Dominion fleet reacted immediately, moving into attack positions. They'll think twice now, Hayes murmured. Artemis broadcast on all frequencies, all languages. Tell them this ship is now under Alliance control and prepared to defend itself. As Artemis complied, Lieutenant Walsh entered the bridge, her armor scorched and dented. The internal defenses have secured most of the ship, she reported. Those drones are incredible, Hayes nodded. Take tactical. We're not out of this yet. Walsh moved to the tactical station just as the first Dominion cruiser opened fire. The Indomitable rocked under the impact. Shields holding at 35%, Artemis reported. Return fire, Hayes ordered. All available weapons. The ancient Dreadnought, awakened from its long sleep, began to fight back. The Deathworld alliance was failing, until Earth's last Dreadnought rose. The Indomitable shuddered as another Dominion blast struck its shields. Lieutenant Walsh gripped the tactical console tightly. Shields at 28%, she reported. They're concentrating fire on our port side. Hayes nodded, studying the tactical display. The Dominion fleet had surrounded them, but they weren't using their full firepower. They still wanted the ship intact. Artemis, what's the status of the main engines? Hayes asked. Main engines at 65% capacity. Hyperspace drive not yet functional. We don't need hyperspace yet, Hayes said. Just enough power to move. His comm unit activated. Commander, Captain Bennett's weak voice came through. Doctor, Russell and I have bypassed the safety protocols on the reactor. We can give you 80% power to all systems, but it won't last long. That's all we need, Hayes replied. Lieutenant Walsh, target the lead Dominion cruiser with the main guns. Walsh looked up in surprise. The main guns are operational? Artemis, are the Graviton Lance arrays online? Affirmative. Graviton Lance arrays at 70% charge. Walsh smiled for the first time since the battle began. Targeting lead cruiser now. The bridge crew watched as the targeting computer locked onto the largest Dominion vessel. The ship that had once been Earth's pride was about to show what it could do. Fire, Hayes ordered. The Indomitable vibrated as energy surged through its weapon systems. On the main view screen, a blinding beam of concentrated gravitons erupted from the Dreadnought's bow, slicing through space toward the Dominion cruiser. The enemy ship's shields flared bright blue for an instant before collapsing completely. The graviton beam cut through the hull like it was paper, and the massive cruiser broke apart in a series of explosions. The bridge crew cheered. The Dominion fleet reacted with shock, ships moving away from the Indomitable's firing arc. They didn't expect that, Walsh said with satisfaction. And they definitely didn't expect this, Hayes replied. Artemis, activate main engines, full power to forward thrusters. The ancient Dreadnought lurched forward, its massive engines pushing it toward the scattered Dominion fleet. Several smaller enemy vessels couldn't move quickly enough and were crushed by the Indomitable's reinforced hull. Set course for the hyperspace jump point, Hayes ordered. We need to get back to Alliance space. Walsh worked at her console, course plotted. But Commander, the hyperspace drive is still not fully operational. It will be, Hayes said confidently. Dr. Russell, status on the hyperspace drive? We're working on it, Russell replied, his voice strained. Captain Bennett, thinks she can modify the dimensional slip technology to boost the hyperspace drive. We just need a few more minutes. You've got 2, Hayes said. The Dominion fleet is regrouping. Sure enough, the remaining Dominion ships were forming a new attack pattern, trying to block the Indomitable's path to the jump point. They're not letting us leave without a fight, Walsh observed. Then we'll give them one, Hayes said. Artemis, status of the point defense grid? Point defense grid at full capacity. Good. Target all approaching Dominion ships with point defense batteries. Lieutenant Walsh, prepare for a microjump. Walsh looked up in alarm. A microjump with an untested hyperspace drive? We don't need to go far, Hayes explained. Just far enough to get behind their blockade. The Dominion ships opened fire again, this time with their full arsenal. The Indomitable's shields flickered under the assault. Shields failing, Artemis reported. Hull breach on decks 12 through 15. Seal those sections, Hayes ordered. Divert power from non-essential systems to shields. His comm unit activated again. Commander? Captain Bennett's voice was stronger now, filled with determination. The hyperspace drive is ready for a short jump, but there's something else you should know. We found a hidden data core in the engineering section. It contains complete schematics for Earth's entire Dreadnought fleet, including designs that were never built. Hayes felt a surge of hope. That could change everything. Can you secure it? Already done. But there's more. The data core also contains coordinates for a hidden Earth facility, established as a contingency before Earth fell. Some kind of shipyard. Before Hayes could respond, the ship rocked violently. A console exploded, sending sparks across the bridge. Direct hit to our starboard weapons array, Walsh reported. We've lost the graviton lances on that side. Hayes made a quick decision. Artemis, prepare for micro-jump. All power to the hyperspace drive. Warning. Hyperspace drive stability uncertain. Jump may result in drive failure. We don't have a choice, Hayes said grimly. Execute jump in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines as the massive Dreadnought disappeared into hyperspace. For a brief, terrifying moment, the ship shuddered as if it might tear itself apart. Then, just as suddenly, they were back in normal space, behind the Dominion blockade. We did it, Walsh said in disbelief. Damage report? Hyperspace drive severely damaged, Artemis reported. Reactor output dropping. Shields at 12%. But we're past their blockade, Hayes noted. Set course for the nearest Alliance outpost, best possible speed. As the Indomitable limped away from the battle, the Dominion ships turned to pursue. But they were too late. The Dreadnought, despite its damage, was still faster than most of their vessels. Hours later, the Indomitable arrived at the Alliance outpost on Vargas Prime. The massive ship's appearance caused a sensation. Alliance vessels scrambled to meet it, uncertain if it was friend or foe until Hayes established communication. The Vargan High Marshal himself came aboard to meet with Hayes and the others. His scaled face showed rare emotion when he saw the ship's capabilities firsthand. This changes everything, the Marshal said, examining the data from the hidden core. These technologies could be adapted for our ships, and this hidden shipyard, if it exists, could be our salvation. Hayes nodded. Captain Bennett believes it's real, and based on the data, it might contain more than just a shipyard. It could house the frameworks for additional dreadnoughts, never completed before Earth fell. The High Marshal's eyes widened. More ships like this one? Potentially, Hayes confirmed, but we'll need resources to find it and secure it before the Dominion does. The news of the Indomitable's return spread quickly through Alliance space. Ships that had been retreating began to hold their positions. Worlds that had been considering surrender renewed their resolve to fight. The psychological impact was enormous. Earth's legendary dreadnought, returning when the Alliance needed it most. But not everyone was pleased. During a meeting of the Alliance Council, several representatives questioned who should have control of the Indomitable. Earth is gone, said the Gorvan delegate. This ship should be placed under direct Alliance command, not left to a handful of surviving humans. Hayes stood his ground. Captain Bennett transferred command to me. The ship's AI recognizes human authority. And more importantly, only humans can fully utilize its neural interface systems. The debate grew heated until Lieutenant Walsh burst into the chamber. We have a problem, she announced. Our intelligence network has detected unusual activity at the coordinates of the hidden shipyard. The Dominion knows something is there. They're sending a fleet to investigate. The council fell silent. The High Marshal turned to Hayes. How did they find out? Spies, Hayes said grimly. The Alliance has been compromised for years. That's how they've stayed ahead of us. The Marshal made a quick decision. Take your ship and investigate these coordinates. Find this shipyard if it exists. We'll begin purging our ranks of spies. Hayes nodded and turned to leave. Commander, the Marshal called after him. The Alliance was failing. We all knew it. But perhaps Earth's last dreadnought has given us something we'd lost. Hope. As Hayes returned to the Indomitable, he found Dr. Russell and Captain Bennett in the medical bay. Bennett was looking stronger, though still confined to a wheelchair. The repairs are underway, Russell reported. We should be ready to depart within 12 hours. Make it 6, Hayes replied. The Dominion is already moving toward the shipyard coordinates. Bennett nodded weakly. Then we'd better beat them there. Because if that shipyard exists and contains what I think it does, whoever controls it controls the future of this war. Hayes looked out a viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there was possibly humanity's last gift to the galaxy, the means to turn the tide against the Dominion. They just had to reach it first. The Deathworld alliance was failing, until Earth's last Dreadnought rose. The Indomitable dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates from the hidden data core. Commander Hayes stood on the bridge, Lieutenant Walsh at his side. Captain Bennett had insisted on being there too, her wheelchair positioned near the captain's chair. "Scan the area," Hayes ordered. "What are we looking at?" Walsh studied the sensor readings. "Nothing, sir. Just empty space and an asteroid field." Bennett frowned. "That can't be right. The coordinates are very specific." Dr. Russell, who had joined them on the bridge, moved to a science station. "Perhaps it's hidden like the Indomitable was. Shielded or out of phase." Hayes considered this. "Artemis, scan for any unusual energy signatures. Something similar to the dimensional slip technology." "Scanning," the AI responded. After a moment, Artemis continued. "No direct match detected. However, there is an unusual radiation pattern within the asteroid field." "Put it on screen," Hayes ordered. The main view screen showed the asteroid field. It looked ordinary at first glance. "I don't see anything special," Walsh said. "Look closer," Bennett urged. "The pattern of the asteroids. It's too uniform." Hayes saw it now. The asteroids weren't randomly distributed as they should be. They formed a subtle pattern, almost like they had been arranged. Artemis analyzed the pattern of those asteroids. "Is it natural?" "Negative. The distribution indicates artificial positioning. Probability of natural occurrence is less than 0.001%. So something put those asteroids in that exact arrangement," Hayes said. "But why?" Bennett's eyes lit up with understanding. "It's a key. A three-dimensional key. Artemis, scan for any Earth technology signatures within those asteroids." The scan took several minutes. Finally, Artemis reported, "Faint Earth technology signatures detected in asteroid designated Alpha 6. "Take us closer to that asteroid," Hayes ordered. As the Indomitable approached, the sensors picked up more details. The asteroid, nearly a kilometer in diameter, had been hollowed out and fitted with technology similar to the dimensional slip drive. "It's a doorway," Bennett said with certainty. "But we need a key to open it." "The Indomitable itself might be the key," Russell suggested. "The dimensional slip technology would recognize its own." Hayes made a decision. "Move us within 100 meters of the asteroid. Artemis, power up the dimensional slip drive." Warning: Dimensional slip drive is not designed for this purpose. Results unpredictable. "Do it anyway," Hayes ordered. "Low power only, just enough to create a resonance field." The ship moved closer to the asteroid. Artemis activated the dimensional slip drive at minimal power. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the space around the asteroid began to shimmer, like heat rising from hot ground. "Energy spike," Walsh reported excitedly. "Something's happening." The asteroid seemed to fade, becoming transparent. Behind it, a massive structure began to appear, phasing into normal space. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Indomitable. A shipyard built into and around a cluster of asteroids, all hidden by dimensional slip technology. "It worked," Bennett said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Contingency base Aurora. Earth's final insurance policy." The bridge crew stared in awe at the massive installation. It was dark, powered down, but clearly intact. "Life signs?" Hayes asked. "None detected," Artemis replied. "The facility appears to be in automated standby mode. Can we dock with it?" "Affirmative. Docking ports are compatible with Indomitable's specifications." Hayes turned to Walsh. "Any sign of Dominion forces?" "Not yet, but they can't be far behind." "Then let's move quickly. Dr. Russell, you're with me. We'll board the facility and see what we're dealing with." The Indomitable docked with the hidden shipyard. Hayes led a team including Russell and several engineers through the airlock. Captain Bennett remained on the ship, coordinating with Artemis. The shipyard was cold and dark, lit only by their flashlights. Emergency lighting flickered on as they moved deeper, responding to their presence. Like the Indomitable, the facility had been preserved in dimensional slip, untouched by time. They reached what appeared to be the main control center. Russell moved to the central console. "This is incredible," he said, examining the systems. "The facility is fully automated. It was designed to build and maintain dreadnoughts without human oversight if necessary." "Can you bring it online?" Hayes asked. "I think so. The startup procedures should be similar to the Indomitables." As Russell worked, Hayes explored the rest of the control center. He found a holographic display unit and activated it. A three-dimensional map appeared showing the entire facility. "Doctor, you need to see this." Russell joined him and they stared at the display in amazement. The shipyard contained not only repair docks for existing dreadnoughts, but construction bays for new ones. And in 3 of those bays, the frameworks for unfinished dreadnoughts waited. "Earth must have been building these when the Dominion attacked," Russell said. "They never had a chance to complete them." "Can they be finished?" Hayes asked. Russell studied the schematics. "Yes, the facility has everything needed. Raw materials, automated construction systems. It would take time, but it's possible." Hayes's comm unit activated. "Commander," Walsh's voice came through urgently. "Long-range sensors have detected multiple hyperspace signatures approaching." "Dominion ships? A lot of them. How much time do we have?" "Less than an hour." Hayes turned to Russell. "Get this facility online now. We need whatever defenses it has." Working together, they managed to activate the shipyard's primary systems. Power hummed through the ancient structure. Lights came on throughout the massive facility. Automated systems began to wake up, running diagnostics and preparing for operation. Russell accessed the main database. "Commander, there's something else here. The shipyard has its own defensive capabilities, more advanced than even the Indomitables." Before Hayes could respond, his comm unit activated again. "Commander," Captain Bennett's voice this time, "I've been analyzing the facility's schematics through the docking connection. There's a way to accelerate the construction process." "How?" "The facility uses advanced fabrication technology. If we connect Artemis to the shipyard systems, she can optimize the process. We might be able to get at least one of the incomplete dreadnoughts partially operational before the Dominion arrives." It seemed impossible, but Hayes had seen too many impossible things lately to discount it. "Do it." Back on the Indomitable, Bennett worked with Artemis to establish the connection. In the shipyard, massive machinery began to move. Construction drones activated, swarming toward the nearest unfinished dreadnought. Hayes and Russell watched in awe as the automated systems worked at incredible speed, completing in minutes what should have taken months. The framework of the new dreadnought began to fill in, hull plating forming before their eyes. "It's cannibalizing parts of the facility itself," Russell realized. Using the raw materials at hand to build the ship, Hayes's comm unit activated again. "Commander!" Walsh's voice was tense. "The Dominion fleet has arrived. 50 ships at least, including 3 command cruisers. We need more time," Hayes said. "Lieutenant, bring the Indomitable to combat readiness. Prepare to defend the shipyard." "Yes, sir. But even the Indomitable can't hold off that many ships for long." Hayes knew she was right. They needed help. "Artemis, can you send a message to Alliance headquarters? Tell them our position and what we found." Message sent, but the nearest Alliance forces are 3 hours away at maximum speed. 3 hours. They needed to hold for 3 hours. Hayes made his way back to the Indomitable, Russell following close behind. On the bridge, the tactical display showed the Dominion fleet approaching in attack formation. They had detected the shipyard and understood its value. "Status of the new dreadnought?" Hayes asked. "Hull is 60% complete," Bennett reported. "Basic systems online. Minimal weapons, no shields yet, but it can move. That will have to be enough. Lieutenant Walsh, take a team to the new ship. See if you can get it operational." Walsh nodded and left the bridge at a run. Hayes took his position in the command chair. "Artemis, battle stations. All hands prepare for combat." The Indomitable moved away from the shipyard, positioning itself between the facility and the approaching Dominion fleet. Hayes knew it was a desperate stand. 1 ship against 50, but the Indomitable was not just any ship. The lead Dominion vessels opened fire. The dreadnought's shields flared as they absorbed the impact. "Return fire," Hayes ordered. "Target their lead ships. Make them pay for every meter." The Indomitable's weapons blazed, destroying 2 smaller Dominion ships immediately, but more kept coming. "Commander," Walsh's voice came through. "We've got basic systems online in the new ship. We're calling it the Defiant. No shields, limited weapons, but engines are functional." "Get it moving," Hayes ordered. "Help us hold them off." The partially completed Dreadnought emerged from the shipyard, its hull still showing gaps where armor plating hadn't been installed. It looked like a wounded animal, but its engines glowed with power. Together, the two Earth dreadnoughts engaged the Dominion fleet. What followed was the most one-sided battle since the fall of Earth. 2 ships against 50. But these were humanity's ultimate weapons, designed specifically to counter Dominion technology.